on Instagram. Jesus, I do this a lot lately, and I always am nervous a bit. Will I click the right button? Invite to join. Okay, I'm inviting you, Teresa. You have to find that there should be a place for you to accept.
Hola,
Yes.
hola.
Hola.
We are live officially.
Great. So now, Teresa, we're gonna silence the computers.
Yes, that is done.
Okay.
Okay.
Um, elSol Spring Edition. Teresa is one of our guests and teachers. Amazing kizomba dancer. Actually, Troy Anthony drew my attention to you. I never knew that you existed, who you were. He said, like, Teresa wants to come. You have to let her. And I'm like, who's Teresa?
Yeah.
It was
Years and
before.
years ago.
Yeah, it was before I also danced kizomba. So please tell us, what is your dance story? Where you come from. You're half Cuban, right?
Yes.
So we want to know all of that. How
All
have you
right, all
become
right.
the Teresa Jimenez you are today?
Well, it all started 1993, all those years back. No, but yeah, you're very right. It's funny because Troy was, of course, part of elSol all of these years
Mhm.
for the festival in the autumn, and it was actually my first ever festival that I ever went to. So Anya,
Mhm.
thank you for that because that was amazing. That was what got me hooked. So you were very a big part of my story to why I got so hooked up on
Wow, that's so nice to hear.
dancing. Yes, actually, that was all the way back in 2013.
Mhm.
That I went to elSol for the first time, and Troy was like, "Yes, you're good at this. You should continue, etc., etc." So yeah, if we rewind a little bit further than that, then I started dancing in 2010, 11, around there. I was 18 years old. I came from a long background of music. So I played violin my whole life, from the age of 5 until 18. And then I kind of took a quick turn and I was like, no, I want to dance. I always wanted to do that. I had grown up with Cuban music, of course, so I had a lot of influence from that. And yeah, I just felt it within me always that I wanted to do that. And when I turned 18, I was kind of a rebel and I was like, this is what I want to do. So I
Mhm.
started there.
But you
Um,
danced. So you started dancing salsa.
yeah, yeah.
Mhm. Mhm.
Correct. So back then, I was not a kizombera at all. I always say it was like kizomba found me. I didn't find kizomba
Mhm.
because salsa was always. I always say salsa was my first love. It's my husband's, so that's where my heart
I say that too.
always.
Oh my god! Now I say that kizomba is my new but steady lover, but I'm married to salsa. It's like a
Exactly that.
long-lasting relationship with its ups and downs and
100%.
moments of fascination and moments of boredom.
Exactly that. And I think it really started like that for me because at the
Mhm.
time I was, very sold on salsa. I was only salsa, salsa, salsa. At the time
Mhm.
as well, there wasn't really kizomba in like the salsa scene. It was coming more in 2013, 14. Then it started to kind of spread the kizomba dance in the salsa scene. But at
Mhm.
the time, it was only salsa and then bachata and stuff. So I was just doing everything and anything I could train and do at the time. And then it was actually Christopher Mensak that was going around learning kizomba, and he was from Sweden, of course, which is where I grew up as well.
Mhm.
So then he came to Sweden with some knowledge about kizomba, and then back then they would always put like at the end of the salsa party they would put one song of kizomba. So
Mhm.
then he would invite me and he's like, yeah, just don't think about it, just follow. And I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. And then he's like, oh, but you follow quite well, maybe we can try train for this competition called Africa Danzar. I was like,
Mhm.
oh, what is Africa Danzar, which turned out to be like the biggest competition for kizomba at the time. And
Mhm.
so it was kind of like I just deep dived into kizomba without knowing what I was doing at the time. the community was very small, of course, back
Mm-hmm.
then. So yeah, it was. I came in like my story went backwards with
Mm-hmm.
kizomba a little bit, and with salsa it was more like I really thought about it and really craved it and loved the music and everything. And kizomba kind of like it grew on me with
Mm-hmm.
time, in a sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah.
So how many years have you been in this international community and also an instructor?
Yeah, I would say since let me see now, since 2015, I would say that I started traveling internationally, more like yeah, consistently.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I started with Christopher Mensak, and then I also, in between of all this, I still continued with salsa and bachata. I was also competing and performing in that a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And then I became partner with Enna Lebon at 2000 in 2016. um yeah, and that was kind of when I went from like this I was a dancer of everything to like now people were like, okay, you are like a
Mm-hmm.
kizomba dancer.
Mm-hmm.
um so yeah, it was that basically.
Okay, I
um
didn't know about that.
yeah, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And since then, we when we split our ways, I just actually continued with what I wanted to do because I had now found a love and creativity as well within Kizomba. So I felt this was my calling, and I kept on going. I've done a lot of collaborationships with amazing instructors around the world, and yeah, here I am, having
Okay,
created my own platform in a sense.
this is very amazing. So you're kind of working with your own brand, right? But you do collaborations sometimes. So what is that experience like?
Yeah, that's a very good question. I think it's something I've also spoke to friends about as well that ask me just that. And I think a great win that you have as a follow and as a female instructor doing collaborations is that you become a very diverse dancer,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
in a sense that you're now then not only limited by one person's style or
Mm-hmm.
one like that you have to fit in that box, but that you get to explore. You can tap into different energies with yourself
Mm-hmm.
and with different dancers as well. That you become a more diverse dancer, just in the same way that when we dance salsa and kizomba and bachata, you can tap into different energies and they actually benefit each other at the end.
Mm-hmm.
Where we use a lot of the same techniques in each dance, like together with each dance.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think that is a great take from working with different artists, as well as seeing different pedagogy, like how people teach different, um, different ambience in the class. Yeah, you just see some people have a more spiritual way to approach it, another more entertaining, more upbeat, more connection. Like you learn a lot of different sides of yeah, what everyone's interpretation is actually, on the teaching side and the dancing side, I would say.
So what are the downsides?
The downsides, yeah, I mean, in my years I feel like not so much like a downside as a, oh, this is definitely a negative per se,
Mm-hmm.
because I don't like to sometimes it can be you're two great dancers and you just don't have the same, like you just don't click, just like
Mm-hmm.
any relationship on earth, you know.
Mm-hmm.
um but I think the downside would be that when you do collaborations, you don't have enough time to kind of create something, like a concept together where you like both find each other and you can like
Mm-hmm.
know each other's cues. And yeah, that you don't have the time and space to kind of create the same concept
Mm-hmm.
as if you would have had more time
Mm-hmm.
to kind of prepare and know each other's cues, you
Mm-hmm.
know. But then there are other times, just like people, where it just flows naturally and you it's just effortless and it's just like, oh, it's like we always taught together. So
But do you ever have this that you're working with someone, it's a collab, and you would like to keep that person and like work with them regularly? Isn't it like you'd like more?
Yeah, right. I mean, this is interesting that you ask this because
Mm-hmm.
a lot of people have had the idea that I only want to do collaborationships, like that I'm like
Mm-hmm.
anti-partner, and
Uh-huh.
that's not true actually. So for me, it's always been like open to anything, attached to nothing. So it's
Mm-hmm.
like if it goes well, and I mean, there's also a lot of other factors aside from like clicking well. There's also practical matters, if we are in the same country, or
Mm-hmm.
uh, if they're also working with someone else, or
Mm-hmm.
it can be all kinds of things. There are also aspects of like looks wise, if somebody is super tall and I'm super short, or super this or super that, that sometimes it's just like, oh, this is great, but it won't work out,
Mm-hmm.
kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
um but it's been mostly those type things, I'd say, that has led me to not have a partner, rather than me being like anti-partner.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
um with this said, I think in the later years, and the more I've also just focused on building a platform for women, for them to feel safe and express themselves, and like not need a man, a lead per
Mm-hmm.
se, to find their
Mm-hmm.
own style. I think I've also kind of like, I took away my focus from like finding the right person to be partnered with, and I was just focusing on that. So for me, that was like, okay, I'm comfortable and what my work is now. So if it happens, then great, and if not, then also okay.
Mm-hmm. It's
So
nice.
I think that,
I see. In Kizomba, there are a lot of women who actually can teach leading and are great at it. That it's a very, I would say, also very unisex
yes, that's very true.
community. It's like in salsa, you have some very strong ladies, but they will. It's really they will not teach you how to lead because the repertoire of partner work is so intricate that if you're like not practicing all the time, then it would
Right.
probably be
If you
hard for
don't
them
use
to.
it, you lose it. Yeah.
Yeah, and Kizomba is
Exactly.
more body and the details. So I think, yeah, but this is interesting since I
Yeah.
got into the community.
Yeah. And I think also, knowing that you also got in the community quite
Yeah.
recently, I think this is also really part of the evolution that has happened
Mm-hmm.
only in the later, yeah, in the later years, actually.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it's a bit of a bittersweet story to it, I think, as well,
Mm-hmm.
because there has been like a lot of women in the kizomba scene that was just standing around and like not
Mm-hmm.
getting to dance. And I think at some point women were also just like, nah, like screw it, I'm gonna learn how to
Yeah.
lead, and I'm gonna make sure I get to dance in the party, because there was
Mm-hmm.
just an insane amount of women. And like, I mean, that's also where like taxi dancers came in and was
Yeah.
really becoming a thing, was also in the kizomba scene, where entire teams would be hired, as you know yourself now as a organizer as well.
You know, this is
Yeah.
crazy because when I was creating the salsa community in Europe, because 20 years ago, it was quite a virgin community. We needed to put a lot of love and effort into it. There was always this thing that, for instance, in the East, we had a lot of women
Yeah.
and we needed guys, but guys were just paying for their passes to come and dance with these women from Poland, Belarus,
Mm,
Ukraine, Russia. It never became that we need to create special conditions for them so that they dance with us. It was a
yeah.
natural mutual exchange. And then when I got into the summer community, I realized it's a thing, like,
It was not like that. Yep. Yep.
and
And there
sometimes
was a
people,
lot of
yeah.
political discussion around that as well, like in those
Sometimes,
times.
people attack me because I started organizing Kids Affair, and
Yeah.
the follower full pass, it's a lot more expensive than the leader full pass, and that it's
Yeah.
unfair. I said I didn't come up with this. This is a reflection of the market. If I want to create an event that I will not constantly
Yeah.
finance from my own pocket, that it finances itself, it has to be like this. But it's unfair
Yeah.
in the entire community. It's not just my pricing policy, but it's just impossible to organize an event when 1/4 of people don't pay for it.
Yes, yes, indeed, indeed. And I must say, like, oh, I felt like we could spend a whole hour only talking
Yeah,
about this.
yeah.
But in short, I would say, I mean, it is definitely an issue because also if you look at how workshops are built, and especially in the Kizomba essence, like
Mhm,
I feel that it's not with women in mind, you know, and that
mhm,
is also then very problematic because women are paying the same or more, like you say,
mhm,
and then they actually don't get the same value out of their workshops because there's not a
mhm.
lot of space given to them in the workshops.
Yeah.
A lot of times I do always my best work to always keep
Mhm.
it equal, for example, and that's also why, yeah, people have appreciated me as an instructor, for example, because I always like speak
Contribute.
up for, yes, for women and stuff.
Mhm, mhm,
But there's a lot of women that always come up to me after class and say like, thank you for speaking, because like I always feel like I'm standing here and no one is like addressing what I need to
mhm,
think about, etc., etc., etc. So
mhm.
women are very frustrated because they're paying the same money or more, and they don't get to be addressed in the classes,
You
and
know,
they get wait around a lot in the social.
that's
So
crazy.
yeah.
I'm trying to understand what is it about this dance that attracts more women than men? Is it that men have to work extra hard? Is it why is it, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
I don't get it.
Yeah, I find it interesting as well, and I think again, I love to be having philosophical conversations around these topics because I do find it so interesting. Everything from like what we mean women are more in like need of as like physical beings, of
Mhm,
like that
mhm,
women tend to have like physical touch as a very much like a love language,
mhm,
but also a lot of trauma that women carry to actually trust a man in their
mhm.
space. I feel like there's a lot that can be talked around that as well.
Okay, so how is
Yeah.
love life in the Kizomba community?
My love life or
Yeah,
love life in
well,
Kizomba?
whatever you want to share, because
Slightly different.
I know it's a big question.
Well, I think yeah, it's for me, I've been very big on trying to keep my personal life and like my dancing life separate to the best of my ability in a
Mhm,
sense. The reason for that is also like I mean back then salsa, but like let's say dancing in general was very precious to me like already when I started. So for me it was like this is a space where I need to feel safe and I can be whomever and whenever and however I want to be, and that was very precious to me to like keep it intact in a way. And I
mhm,
knew that if I was gonna involve love life and etc., it would complicate that. And that was kind of like how some people go to the gym to like relax their mind, to just like work out
mhm,
and just like
mhm,
turn off their brain. That was dancing to me, like it was my free space where I didn't have to deal with any personal stuff. So I've always had that quite like I want to keep it separate,
mhm.
um, in terms of love life. I mean, parallel to that, I've been in relationships since 2011. So, but it's been very important to me that my partner understands what I do and why I do it. And obviously, trust is a major factor in that. So I could not be with somebody that would, you know, have a lot of jealousy or not understand
Mhm.
why I do what I do,
Does
because it
he
would not.
dance? Does he dance even a bit or not at all?
So yeah, my boyfriend right now, he knows how to dance. This is like the perfect combo because he
Uh-huh.
knows how to dance, but he's not in the dance scene. So
Mhm,
it's like perfect. He used to dance before and now he
mhm,
doesn't anymore. So that's also great. Like he can always come and join me whenever he feels like, and we can share a dance together, but we're like, it's not that there's a
mhm,
chit chatter about us or anything, and it's just very also nice. Not that I would have mind if I'm falling in love, I fall in love, but for me it's also great that like I also don't need to feel like he's a stranger to what I do, because it
mhm.
can be quite of a disconnect with normal people that don't know how to, yeah, but that don't understand the concept of social dancing or what
Mhm.
it is, just like they don't
Yeah.
relate to it at all, and to yeah, have to explain what and how it is, or so that they don't have any personal experience to
Mhm.
understand it. So yeah, so but we have a great understanding in that, and
And
yeah,
what
like
does
that.
he do? What does he do professionally?
Uh, he's a police officer actually.
Hmm.
So yeah,
Nice.
it's completely
Mhm.
different life. But
Okay.
yeah, like I said, he is also connected to the music, and to have been social dancing, and still can
Okay.
go out and social dance if he feels
That's
like it.
you're lucky, girl. That's the perfect version, you know.
Yeah, yeah. Consider
So
myself lucky.
speaking of normal, if you didn't dance, what would you do? What other profession?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I came from music, from many, many
Mm-hmm.
years of education in that. So yeah, it's hard to say because I made such a U-turn, but big chances that I would have been a professional musician. I was also writing music and stuff like that towards
Mm-hmm.
the end
Okay.
of my studies. But
Mm-hmm.
big chances are also, and that's also what I try to angle my dance work with now as well, is to work more with mental health and um, yeah, therapy in a sense, like to
Mm-hmm.
unresolved trauma and stuff like that, and specifically within women.
Mm-hmm.
And I also see a big need for that within the community now. So I also try to combine those two passions. I've always been very into psychology and stuff like that. I also did some studies on that years
Mm-hmm.
ago. And now I feel like I've kind of been able to connect them two together as well, in this gap that I feel that we have in the
Mm-hmm.
community as well.
Mm.
Yeah.
I talked lately to a lot of people about this. You know, it's like it's becoming such a bigger awareness that in dance, a lot of things that are happening with our bodies or the way we experience dance, the
Yeah.
stages that we go through are very connected with our emotional state, right? Or the
Right.
changes
Body
that
and
we
mind.
go through. Yeah, yeah, it's all connected.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah.
so I've had
Yeah.
actually in the last week 3 conversations. I think Eddie was talking about this, and then I had a conversation in Polish with a girl who was trying to promote like in Polish mental health for dancers,
Yeah.
and so it's like it's,
Nice. Yeah, and I
it's
think
a
that's
natural progression.
amazing that there is, yeah, absolutely. And I love to see the initiative for it as well. I was talking to Nemanja, another Kizomba
Yeah,
dancer. He does
I,
it,
I follow him.
yeah, yeah. And he also does this for men and tries to
Mm-hmm,
like find a mental health within them and
mm-hmm,
stuff. And we had an interesting conversation where we're talking about the polar sides of this, like
mm-hmm,
me talking about like the experience I have had now with women now for 2.5 years that I've been working with Ready Set Kids, my own company, which
uh-huh,
specializes in women, and his work that he has done, and like yeah, just kind of discussing the results of that and things that we have observed and working through and with people. And I find it really inspiring that there is initiative being taken um, on these topics, because it's so important, and we're very oblivious to how much it is connected. Um, and also in the roles, in a sense, that we're dancing, like the lead and the follow, how you have to kind of surrender to
mm-hmm,
what your purpose in the dance is, regardless of which one it is.
mm-hmm,
And it's just very interesting when you look at the mental aspect of what that kind of includes and what that triggers in your own sense of mind. Because it's just like anything, it's like training a muscle. So when we do that a lot, we are like, that's also what makes us a good follower, a good lead, is
mm-hmm,
also that we kind of surrender to the role of being that.
mm-hmm,
You know what I
mm-hmm,
mean?
mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's very interesting, it's very mental.
Can you share some more specific observation also, like without being personal? But you said that you've been working a lot with women, and is
Yeah.
there anything
um
I could pull out of you now to share with the
Yeah,
community?
absolutely. I think with my work in Ready Set Kids, I think it's uh, the most interesting thing is that women come to me with dancing in their mind, that they're like, okay,
Mhm.
I'm gonna improve my technical skills and like how I style, etc. So they're very like focused on that, and quite fast they're realizing like, oh, whoa, like this is very mentally confronting of like um having to confront themselves in the mirror, seeing themselves dance on a video, dare to be creative, to create things in their
Mhm.
expression and steps, etc., instead of just copying. Because especially as women, I think, and obviously this is me generalizing, but we as a species are very
Mhm.
used to being told what to do. Like, yeah, do this, look like that,
Mhm.
do like this.
Mhm.
And when women are given a space to kind of be like, no, you do, you create, you be beautiful, you do what you feel, then women get very confronted with that. They're not used to that at all. Like, they're not used to having that space to, but like kind of like just take command. um and it's beautiful to see these women be in their like full feminine energy, but still like be able to take space and like and command
Mhm.
and themselves to be comfortable in their own body.
Mhm.
um so I think that's a big take that I've seen, like, and that I also was not prepared of when I started Ready Set Kiss, because I had like a vision, but I was also like, okay, we're gonna see how it goes, obviously. But it was like, with no exception, each and every one had of my students have experienced that their mental health has been so connected to it, that it's been like us having a therapy session every week as well,
Mhm.
aside from only the technical things.
Mhm.
Yeah, so that I think is a huge thing that I also didn't understand, the gravity of what that would be actually.
Mhm. It's yeah. I want to share. I thought also when I danced salsa for many years and I performed, and it was crazy. 20 years is my whole adult life.
Yeah.
And then at some point, the recent years, I kind of backed off a bit from the community. I focused on my business. But then when I got into kizomba and I got so hooked on it, I realized that my energy has changed, because salsa in its DNA, it has a lot of rivalry and a lot of show off. Like, yeah, I'm the best, I'm the
Yes.
prettiest, I'm the diva, I can spin,
100%. Yep.
And of course, you can also dance salsa in a very connected way with the right partner, connected to the music and together. But generally, the things that are popular, the things that people want to watch, are very like out there. And I realized that as my transformation in life happened, I've had two children. I changed as a person. That
Yeah.
right now in dance, this is what I get in kizomba. I get this intimacy and this connection that I was missing in salsa. I don't want to be admired anymore. I don't want to.
Yeah.
I don't want to wait for the applause anymore.
Yeah. 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 That's
It's so.
amazing. That's
So that
really,
was a
really
huge
interesting to
change.
hear
Oh,
that
sorry,
side, of
someone
course, because a lot
someone
of
called me.
people
So that
only dance
wait, can
kizomba,
you hear
but
me?
it's very interesting to hear.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, yes, because someone
Yeah.
called me. I had to remove it. So
Okay.
that was so big for me, because each one of us has a bit of narcissism in phases, and I think that narcissistic part of me that wanted that admiration is somehow gone or
Was let
sleeping.
go of.
You know.
Wow, that's super cool to hear. Yeah, like I
Yeah.
said, it's interesting as well to hear, like, for example, you go from a different dance style like salsa, and that,
Hmm.
also how much salsa was your life, to kind of go to kizomba, because a lot of kizomba dancers, they were like going straight to kizomba. Like, you don't have a lot of examples actually, where, I mean, the
Hmm.
kizomba community is very separate to salsa bachata. Like, it's
Yes.
not
Yeah.
Latin. They want to be
Yeah.
secluded, etc., etc. That's why,
Yeah.
like, within the first few years, it was very quick to like have kizomba festivals. It was not like, nah, they didn't want the SPK thing. They wanted
Yeah.
it to
Yeah.
like be
Yeah.
separate. So it's also interesting to hear this, because I had that similar experience, that
Hmm.
salsa gave me so much joy. Like, salsa
Hmm.
gives me energy and joy and my blood pumping, and
Hmm.
you know this like alegría, like you just
Mhm.
have to get
Yeah.
up and move,
Yeah. Yeah.
but kizomba was definitely the lesson of like surrendering and like
Mhm.
being in tune with yourself and being like that hypersensitive in not in only in the technical aspect, because you also become very like
Mhm.
hypersensitive in that sense,
Mhm.
but also in your connection with music and your
Mhm.
balance and with your partner, to like you truly find that like magical, you know um
Yes, it's such a. I like how
vibration.
Liliana described it. She says this is the inside dance, and it feels better than it looks. And
Yes.
it really
Yes.
is in the details. And it was so hard for me switching from salsa to control, the level of energy that I give, because everything I did was big.
Yeah.
This is how we're used to.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I'm still working on this. And the balance, I thought, it's because I come from classical ballet, and I always thought I have balance, I have strong legs, but I
Yeah.
couldn't
Yeah.
stand.
Yeah.
How is
Yeah.
this
Right.
possible? I've been dancing all
Yeah.
my life, and I cannot just stand still.
Yeah, exactly. And I remember us talking about this as well,
Yeah,
like about being grounded, how
yeah,
much like
yeah.
being grounded is something completely different than just being balanced. Because standing on
Mhm.
one leg is, yeah, we can find different ways
Yeah.
to know how to do that. But having that groundness and knowing exactly where your body is, like how it's
Mhm.
traveling and where it's traveling, it's very different than just being able to stand up straight, and not
Mhm.
fall. So it's more like the balance towards your partner and yourself than like balance on the floor.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, I think it's very interesting, and it's a like again, going back to what I said, it's these dances really completing each other as well, because I feel that I'm a better salsa dancer now because of my
Mhm.
kizomba
Yes.
experience. I'm a better
Yeah.
kizomba dancer because of my salsa experience.
Mhm.
So yeah,
Yes,
I think
totally. Mhm.
dance is universal, so
This is also why the concept of el sol is so multi-style, because everything has its moments, and I love being able to switch between floors, and it's like being a kid in
yeah,
a candy shop. You can do this, you can do that. I
yeah,
lately I've been spending my el sol festivals between salsa and kizomba. I can hardly make it to bachata because it
yeah,
already
yeah,
feels like a lot, and already feels like I'm missing on this or that.
yeah.
But I wonder how many people that are listening to us dance all the styles, or maybe two of the styles,
A
salsa,
few of the
bachata,
styles. Yeah,
like kizomba,
yeah.
and also Cuban,
Who is a bilingual dancer?
or multilingual dancer.
Exactly. Yeah, no,
'Cause
I do understand what you mean, and again, like kudos to you once again, because El Sol, and I'm not telling you this to kiss ass. I swear to God, you can ask anyone in my life. That El Sol was, because it was my first festival back in 2013. It was quite it was much smaller than than it is now, of course. Instead of
Mhm,
6,000, you had maybe 600 people back then. It was on one floor with the stage on the side, if you remember. And like from that moment, like I didn't sleep at all. I would sleep like 1 2 hours. I would go to at the workshops from 10 a.m. until the last workshop, all day, all of the days. And El Sol was became this tradition for me, that it was even when I was an international teacher, I would go, I would make sure that El Sol I had free to go for myself. It's the only
mhm,
festival I went to for me, that I was like,
mhm,
I'm going there for me to grow, for me to dance, for me to
mhm,
enjoy, where I'm not there to work, but I'm there for me. So El Sol has always been that for me, and it was like my dance anniversary. I always called it, because every year I would go, I'd be like, oh, so that means I've been dancing for X and that many years.
mhm,
So
mhm.
so yeah, El Sol
Like
has
a
been
like a
so
reference
amazing
point.
for that.
Mhm,
Yeah. And
mhm,
like you said, because it was really playground where you could dance any style, and me dancing every style, it was like El Sol was so amazing, because you could
mhm,
like just be in the same building and just jump between one to the other, and every workshop and everything, and it was still like this together feeling with everybody. So yeah, I've always loved El Sol for that.
Hmm. Well, now
Yeah.
we're gonna do it twice a year. We have one
Yeah.
comment. Work that Abs is telling us that he dances salsa bachata kizomba. Great, you're a
Oh,
perfect El
nice.
Sol participant.
Exactly, exactly.
You're gonna
And
love it.
we are almost there for March.
Yes, it's less than 2 months ahead, 10 to 12 of March, actually 9 to 12 of March from Thursday. We have a super international lineup of salsa, bachata, and kizomba.
Uh,
Okay, Teresa is you're breaking up on. Are
Oh,
you
I'm
back? You're
I'm
back.
back. I'm back.
Okay.
There
Okay.
was the headphones that were. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, but it
So,
is indeed very soon. I'm very excited, and you
mhm.
having twice per year that you also offer salsa, bachata, and kizomba is super super cool. That's gold points for our organizer to do it twice per
It's
year.
a yeah, it's a new project. Let's see how it goes. But I'm really excited, and especially with us moving to Katowice in November this
Yeah.
fall. I wanted to keep something in Warsaw, so you guys have to come and enjoy this
Yes.
ultimately comfortable experience of being by the airport and all in one venue.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Indeed.
and so Teresa, how do you feel about social dancing in the congresses and how can you compare it 10 years ago and now?
Oh wow. In what style? And kizomba? Or
Well, give us everything.
oh, well, I mean salsa, I feel like I don't have a lot of I didn't go to every salsa festival that there is to
Mhm,
make like a fair comparison. But I feel like what maybe all styles have kind of universally like in common is that
mhm,
I feel like it's become much more communicative between the roles in
mhm.
dancing rather than like, oh, there's one lead and one follow. I feel
Okay.
like women have been able to take more space and that there's more communicative dance, if that makes sense,
Mhm.
than like where it's like a conversation between two people.
You mean all
um
of the dances, or you mean kizomba? You mean
I think maybe
salsa?
like for sure Kizomba has that
Mhm,
like on its peak, but
mhm,
I think that's the case for these three dances like salsa, bachata, and kizomba. I think
mhm,
that has been kind of an evolution that's happened with years that I've observed at least is that women are taking more space and more part of the conversation in the dancing as well in the social dance.
mhm,
At least that's how I feel because even if I look at salsa, like it was very like when I started, it was very like the yamule kind of
mhm,
mentality, if I can put it like that. That
mhm,
it was very like this is what we do, and you spin, and we go, and da da da, and
mhm,
it was yeah, it was very this like show off kind of different energy, and I feel like also the Afro-Cuban kind of elements that have also come back into like style, if I can put it like that. It was
mhm,
always there, but I feel like now also with Bercy and stuff like that, it's been just a lot of more influence where it's like more conversational and more
mhm,
experimental for salsa. Bachata obviously has been the whole wave of sensual that has like also just changed bachata, like the bachata scene in a sense,
mhm,
also to focus more on women and stuff, but also to see the Dominican coming in and that also being more conversational, like again, between men and women or like
mhm,
leads and follows, where it's like both taking more part instead of like, oh, you just I lead and you follow.
mhm,
Um, yeah, and kizomba, like again, I think this is at its peak that um especially now, not kizomba but urban kiz in a sense, like the fusion scene has become very much more conversational, where it's like you leave space for your partner to
mhm,
respond to the music and then you answer back, so it's like a literal conversation that happens, and that is very new for the scene because yeah, only 5 minutes ago it was not like that at all. So
mhm.
so
Well, I'm
yeah,
happy that I
that's
got into it when
yeah,
it's like this.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. I understand that. And that has a lot to do with Tarasho, also has a lot to do with, you know, yeah, just the evolution of kind of creating that, like, you give each other like this more like a battle kind of conversation thing.
Mhm.
And that's, I mean, also the music kind of allows for that, because you have like a break and then you can go tack 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 tack, and then the other
Mhm.
one is like, oh, tack tack, and then it's like tack tack
Mhm.
tack again. So
Mhm.
yeah, I think that's what they have all in common, but also separately. You see,
Mhm.
social dancing has, you know, developed so much more to give more space for women, I think. And um, for Kizomba, I mean, it's incomparable, like what it was 10 years ago and
Mhm.
now. It's just, you can't even compare it,
Do
actually.
you still do you still social dance?
Oh, absolutely, of course.
Mhm.
I do so when I have the energy and chance to do so, like when I'm alone. Oh,
Mhm.
can you hear me still? Hello?
I can
Oh,
hear
my
you.
AirPods died.
You're breaking up.
Um, but let me see.
Okay.
Can you
Yes,
hear me now?
I can hear you. I
Is it
think I
okay? The
hear.
sound is okay?
Yes. Yes.
Awesome.
Okay.
Yes. So what I was saying is, um, yeah, I mean, social dancing I do whenever I have the time and energy. And I mean, every time I'm working, then I'm always there all night dancing with everybody. So
Mhm.
no, social dancing is the reason why I also love this so much, because that is how I get to experience new dancers, new styles. Musicality is like through people. It's not through dancing with only myself or only the person I'm working with, but through each level, person, interpretation, style, music, everything. So yeah,
Mhm.
I love social dancing.
What's your routine in the Congress? When do you sleep? Do you take naps? Do you take naps?
Oh wow. I would say that really depends on the Congress, but I think I have like the typical standard would be like I'll take a nap between dinner and like going to the
Mhm.
party. I always
Mhm.
try to make sure to like take a nap.
Mhm.
So I always stay like all night in the party basically. Sometimes if the breakfast is early, then I eat breakfast and then I go to sleep a little bit before I
Mhm.
would teach a workshop,
Mhm.
for example.
Do you take a long time to get ready? Like,
Well, what is a long time?
oh, you tell me.
I don't think I do. I don't know. I don't think I do, but no, I would say like I need max an hour, like to just like
Okay,
shower and
that's a long. That's
it's
yeah,
I think
that's
the my biggest issue is my indecisiveness. It's not the getting ready part.
uh-huh.
It's like what am I gonna wear? That's the
Uh-huh.
indecisive part. But with the
Mhm.
years, I've learned that when I'm packing my bag, I just like I give myself limited options. So I'm like, okay, I'm only gonna bring 3 outfits.
Uh-huh.
That way, I have nothing else than those
Yeah.
3 outfits to wear. So that's I've learned
Mhm.
how to deal with myself.
Okay, yeah, that's a good one for me. It's also, it's crazy when I take too many things.
Yeah, it's never a good idea. It seems like a great idea when you're
Mhm.
packing, and then it's not. But
Mhm.
aside from that, I would not say that I take long. I'm usually quite fast with that.
Mhm. What
Yeah.
where do you see yourself in 5, 10 years? What are your plans, or what are your dreams?
Yeah, that's a great question. I um well, like I said, a little bit like I'm open to anything attached to nothing in a sense of like what possibilities and opportunities can come. But what I see for myself is growing the community that I've started already 2.5 years ago for women,
Mhm.
to create that safe space for them to um, also, yeah, help um, teachers and the community to actually have a good foundation. And like as also one of the older people in this community, because I think the bigger issue that the kizomba world also has is that it has a lot of turnover. So you have a lot of people that come and go, come and go, come and
Mhm.
go, and that is what salsa really has succeeded in, like kind of sustaining,
Mhm.
like the people that are there to stay, kind of thing.
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
Kizomba has not really had that, and Kizomba is very like a baby still. So I'd
Mhm.
love to see that happen for the community with me involved. Um, uh, and yeah, I see creating like a world platform for what I'm doing. I'm planning like teachers trainings in different countries that can also teach like the concept that I am doing, which is like coaching together with technique and dancing.
Mhm.
um, so yeah, that's what I see doing. I obviously see myself traveling still, um, and teaching. Yeah, so that's creating a bigger platform that's like also more of a community itself, rather than just like not just dance classes, but like also like a community, and as well traveling and teaching and kind of spreading that pedagogy and concept as well.
Okay, so now some advice for the newcomers. Let's say someone wants to be out there, a wanted instructor. Should they teach first classes, first gigs for free? Should they not? How to?
um yeah, I understand your question. I think one like my best advice for this is like do your homework, because especially in kizomba these days, and that's also why I personally want to make that change for the community, is that everyone is a teacher these days, and that's not a good thing for the community, because we are lowering the quality of
Mm-hmm.
what is being taught, and not only as a dance but also as culture, as history and stuff like that. Like you have people these days that don't know what Saida means. Like, what is a Saida? Why is it named
Mm-hmm.
Saida? Like, people
Mm-hmm.
don't even understand or know anything of the history, and that people start with urban kids when it should not be that. It should be learned from the fundamentals of Kizomba. Like, this is where it comes from, and people should really pay attention to understanding the history and the fundamental steps and the terms of those steps as well, before going on to just being like, oh, I'm a teacher now because someone told me I danced good in the social. Like, that doesn't work like that at
Mm-hmm.
all.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So my best advice is like get yourself educated first of all, so the information that you put out there is correct, and that you can carry yourself as a knowledgeable teacher. um, Put time into working on your pedagogy, like how do you break this down, because you being a good dancer is not enough. That doesn't mean that you're a great teacher. So being a great teacher is something you have to work on. Take classes. Don't stop taking classes. Always remain a student, because this is also the biggest mistake that people do, is that they just don't go to classes anymore. And
Mm-hmm.
you are always constantly learning by watching others teach, by teaching yourself, of course, as well. But like going to classes, you're always like, I say the most complicated class to go to is a beginner's class. It's not the advanced
Mm-hmm.
YouTube moves class. It's
Mm-hmm.
actually going to a beginner's class, because you will always learn something new from a beginner's class usually than the advanced class.
Why?
The advanced class will
Why?
be steps. Yeah, because you will learn, you can get new material, but you don't necessarily learn a lot of new technique, because
Mm-hmm.
all the technique, especially in kizomba, and it's the same for salsa, it's
Mm-hmm.
in the fundamentals. It's
Mm-hmm.
how you step, it's how you transfer, it's how you it's in the, even in the fundamentals of routines to do, in a sense, like the
Mm-hmm.
turn what you would call turn patterns in salsa.
Mm-hmm.
It comes from the fundamentals. If you don't know how to do a cross-bedded lead, like accurately, then if you do it with five
Yeah.
other complicated things on top of it,
Mhm.
it's not going to be better.
Yeah.
And it's the same for kizomba, even more so because it's so hypersensitive, that if you don't know how to approach your own body and weight transfer and balance and connection with your partner, you're not going to know that better because you're taking a more advanced class. It's
Mm.
never going to improve your fundamentals more.
Mhm. Mhm.
So I think that is my best advice. Like, really I know it's boring. I know everyone wants to get excited and just start teaching and doing all kinds of advanced steps, etc. But really pay attention to having your fundamentals both historically and technically before you even consider being a teacher, and talk to people and look to people that are inspiring you as teachers and see how they approach and what they approach in their teaching as well. uh,
Mhm.
yeah, because counting to 8 is not enough to be a good teacher.
Mhm.
This is very much like that.
Thank you for this elaborate explanation. Um, what would you? How would you encourage our multi-style salsa bachata community to try kizomba?
Yeah, like, also what you said, so you put it so well yourself, like how you get to be in that, like, surrender to, like,
Mhm.
being with this inside dance of yourself. Like, if you're coming from salsa and bachata, it's very action, very arms and like external energy, and you
Yeah.
get the internal energy like just hugged literally
Yeah.
in kizomba. And that you, um now, obviously I'm talking from a follows perspective, but
Yeah.
even as well as a lead, like, you get to breathe. I feel like kizomba for me is a very big exhale, and that doesn't mean that you um are, that you can't dance upbeat or something, because
Mhm.
even in dancing upbeat, it's like an exhale. It's like a, and then when you step, it's like a it's
Mhm.
just like one big win that you can step and be creative and go how you want to go about the dance. And that's what I find so freeing about kizomba that we don't have in salsa bachata, is that there are no rules to when you can stop, when you can start,
Mhm.
when you need to slow down, when you need to
Mhm.
speed up. It's all in your hands. So as a lead, I find that being so freeing in terms of, like, I can literally do what I want as long as I approach my own body and my partner in
Mhm.
the correct way. Um, to dance literally with the music to whatever you feel you want to highlight. That is like a magical thing itself that we don't have in the same way in salsa and bachata.
Mhm.
And as a follow is like the beauty and the magic of, like, surrendering to your partner and, like, being, it's literally like mindfulness. Like, you're literally being in that very
Mhm.
now moment where you're not autopilot, like, anticipating, but you're literally in that very
Yeah.
very moment.
That's
um
very meditative for me
Very
too.
meditative, and I
Yeah.
also
Yeah.
feel like that's slightly different. It's like the extra gear from salsa,
Mhm.
because of course in salsa you also should not anticipate, but you can
Mhm.
kind of go on an autopilot still, where it's like,
Well, you have a
the
structure
indication,
of
right?
a basic step. So.
A basic step or a crossbody or whatever,
Yeah.
the indication to that, where it's like, oh, you indicated this, so I know I'm going there, and I know I'm
Mhm.
going to end up on that foot. So it's like predictable in that kind
Mhm.
of way, where it's like a turn will always be a turn on this count, and I will come back
Mhm.
here, and etc. And with kizomba, you just don't have that. You can stop in the middle of saida, you can slow down, you can speed up. It's just so unpredictable and a different, on an even further level, that
Mhm.
you have to surrender as a follow to, like, really trust your partner and also trust yourself, because that is
Mhm.
the main thing that people don't do. They don't trust themselves to be in the now, so they're anticipating what's going to happen
Mhm.
to feel in control.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, someone commented here.
This is Eddie. Eddie is also
Oh,
coming to us
Eddie.
as an instructor. Whatever you feel you want to highlight, I think he's quoting your sentence. That's a great
Yeah,
one, and it needs to be emphasized in salsa as well. It can be danced. Yes, Eddie can
100%.
dance like that. I love dancing with Eddie. Salsa.
Yeah, yeah, amazing. He's also gonna be there in March.
Yes.
Well, then I can't wait to dance with you, Eddie. But
What?
yeah, absolutely. What you want to have, and absolutely, like if you look at amazing dancers, also like Terry, for example, is like, of course, in salsa is known to always
Mhm.
have like kind of presented that you can highlight whatever you want in the music. For example, he's a big dance crush of mine, and for that very reason. And I feel like in Kizomba, like it's so beautiful because this is also what I tell all of my students is like highlighting doesn't mean attacking everything in the music, because that's also what people get stressed with. They're like, oh, what, like I have all this freedom now, I have to hit everything, every little tack 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 tack, and like it can then also you can overcompensate it to like be too loud. And I always say, like, if you want someone to listen, then sometimes you have to speak quiet.
Mhm.
Because then it's like, oh, wait, what is that?
Mhm.
And that's also what I mean with highlighting, because when you feel what you really want to highlight, then it can be like something as little as this, and it just shows more because it's like an intentional highlight where it's like, I want to highlight this, and therefore it shows more than you would have done this and then this and then this and then this and then this. Then you don't see it because it's just too loud. And I think
Mhm.
that's also what's so beautiful about Kiz and Kizawa Fusion is like that you can really you can hand pick those moments. And I think absolutely salsa should also take more from that, and also bachata. I think all
Mhm.
should
Yeah,
take.
Eddie is agreeing with you. And then we had another comment. Polamo, what solo dance styles are good to learn for urban kids?
Ooh. um
Afro. Afro.
yes, yes. I think again, any dance style can provide, especially into kids like fusion and urban kids. I feel like any dance style from anything can really contribute, whether it's tango, zouk, or salsa, or hip hop, or
I did twerk because I wanted to understand how to relax my butt while my center
interesting.
is working. That was very helpful too.
Nice, nice, interesting. Yeah, absolutely. Uh, I think because I think this is a guy. Yeah, this is a guy. So
Uh-huh.
for men, I really feel like anything that has to do with body control, and like for example in hip hop you have popping and stuff like that. That's really helpful to just like know and get to learn like the tiny like muscle control you can have. For urban kids, like now I'm thinking more in that
Mm-hmm.
genre. But I think again, going back to kizomba, like you have to have the fundamentals of this to add other dance styles that can like be the sugar on top. It should not be the other way around. So you shouldn't be like, oh, I want to be a great urban kids dancer, well then I'm just going to go and learn this solo dance first and then go into urban kids. Should not be like that. Still start with kizomba. But solo dances specifically, I would say hip hop is very helpful, like popping and such. um as well, afro I think helps for sure. I think with men specifically, men have a tendency to not want to learn hip movements, and that should not be the case. Guys need to learn how to move their hips. I even encourage guys to go to lady styling workshops as well, because you just need to learn how to move your bodies as well, and not just lead with upper body, but also lead with legs and hips and chest connection. So yeah, anything that you personally can feel would complement your dancing in urban kids, that you feel more drawn to, whether it's more upbeat or like more chest connection and like softer movements, then I think you should apply dances that can be related to that.
Thank you.
I would say, yeah.
Very informative. Teresa, what would you advise to yourself from today's perspective to the Teresa at the age of 19? What tip for life?
Yeah. Oh, for life.
I
Oh my
mean,
days.
whatever could be helpful, that you know today.
um, don't rush. Like, very much that. Don't rush, because I think at that time I was very. I mean, I was young and I was very like excited to live the dream, which for me was like traveling around and doing this, and I feel that knowing what I know now, it would not have hurt me to take more time to find myself in my dancing, before I was on display in front of the whole world. I think that would have been advice, like for dance specific
Mm-hmm.
uh, type of mind. Um, Aside from that, I think also just like uh, be kind to myself, because I'm really much of a perfectionist, and like this is still to this day I will look back on things and be like, oh my god, why, oh, I hate this video myself. And I've learned to really embrace myself more in that and be like, it's a good thing, and I say this to my students as well, it's a good thing that you can be able to look back at something that you were, and that you've actually danced differently now. That's a good sign. It would be a bad sign if it wasn't different, if you were still doing that and you were not feeling that you had improved with yourself as a person, or etc. It's the same thing that we can have, like looking back on past mistakes that we've done in life personally. We can be like, ugh, why did I do this or that, da, 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 da. But it's like, yeah, but you are this person now, and you would now not make that decision. And that is what shows growth. And so being more kind to myself, I wish I would have been
Okay. Okay.
back then.
Eddie is saying, yeah, baby, move those hips. My Cape Verdean great grandmother used to say that. Eddie is Cape Verdean, Brazilian, and dances salsa.
Ah,
He
yep.
dances kizomba too.
Nice.
Um,
Yeah, someone
what's
saying,
a
DJ Amos on Facebook here saying
yes,
perfectionism is
yes.
perfect, shows improvement plus some. Yes. And I say, practice makes what? Not perfect, but practice makes progress, because we are
Mm-hmm,
making progress all the time. It's not
mm-hmm,
about being perfect. It's really like we're all a work in progress all the time.
yeah.
So that I would say.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And somehow perfectionism has, I don't think it has ever been my issue. I think
Oh, that's
I
great.
worked
I'm
I
jealous.
worked with just enough. I mean,
Yeah.
I like good things. I like quality, but I don't really demand for my events to be perfect or for my team
Yeah.
to be perfect. I got used to my imperfect dancing,
That's
and
awesome. I love that. I love that. Please give me some. Send it in the mail to me.
okay,
Yeah. No, I
okay,
think because I came
sure.
from a very strict childhood, like with violin. I grew up
Mm,
like studying in a Russian private school. So it was
oh,
very, very much strict and very conservative. So, which is obviously, as you can see, very different from my life now.
mm,
But I still had that, like, in the back of my head mentality of like, you know, there is a perfect and I have to reach it. So I
mm,
think that has, for the better and worse, been with me, because I've also been, benefiting a lot from knowing music so well, and like having discipline and stuff like that has also got me here. But it's also sometimes where it's like, okay, I have to let go and like not compare and not be so hard on that I should have been here when I haven't even had the time to practice all of that. So I
mm,
think that for sure. What is
mm,
your biggest what would you advise yourself to the
mm.
to the 10 years, 20 years ago? And now,
don't listen to others people bullshit. you should
yes,
do you should do this like this, you shouldn't do that.
yeah.
You don't know, because I started my business very early. I was 21.
Oh
uh,
wow.
so I was still at the university and I was starting to run a business, and I didn't know shit.
Yeah.
You know,
Wow, that's
and
amazing.
the people that I managed that worked for me and my business partner, everybody was older than me, so they
Yeah.
had more life experience, and then I had to be smarter in the new role that I still didn't know.
Yeah.
So it was really frustrating when I felt, when all this advice was coming in, and then as a mother, all the time you hear you're doing this wrong, it should be done like this, and especially when you have a difficult child, which I do, with like
Mm,
ADHD and problems, and then everyone has an opinion. If you were
yeah.
just a little bit stricter, this would be great. It's like,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
and so in all this noise and all this chaos, I had being actually following my own intuition was something very brave, and I didn't have
Absolutely. Yeah.
that much courage when I was really young. I was building it up, with time. And
Yeah. Well, you did a great job. Let's put it like that. Yeah, you really did. Yeah, and I mean, I think again, it's just so also different for women in any kind of position when you're trying to create and build a company,
mm,
like a school, a festival, all of these things.
mm,
Like it will just always be, well, always, I hope not, but it is just for now harder, and you have to prove yourself twice as much and for twice as long and all of these things
yeah,
a lot of times.
especially when you get at that age, when you're raised in this culture. And I think Holland or Sweden, I think there are still, I mean, depends on your household, but generally the social space is a little bit more equal,
Yeah.
or at
Yes,
least they're working on this.
100%.
But here in Poland, when I was born, it was we had communism. It
Yeah.
was pretty old school. So then, when the economy started after the transformation, I got into business. My business partner was 6 years older. It was clear to me that he knew how to do things, and I didn't. Right?
Yeah, yeah, and
Until
that's a lot of pressure. But
yeah.
to also say that, I think that is also a big issue with the community, like with the dance community, because regardless of what country you're from, I feel like the community is still living in the 50s or something, where
Uh-huh.
sometimes I'm just like, it's just ridiculous. Like no one in my normal life relates at all when I explain certain issues that we have
Hmm.
as a community, everything from finance to the language that's being spoken, like this assisting and this and that. And they're like, but you are there together. And like, how is it that it's like that? For them, they can't even comprehend like
Hmm.
some of these issues that we have. And and for that, I feel really like sad how we've just normalized a lot of these things, and that people aren't taking more command in a sense to actually change this, because a lot of the women's rights, if we can put it like that, are like just so unspoken of in the community, and should be spoken of more, I think.
It's that there are so many things. Like, for instance, I was a dancer, a performer before, and I traveled with one dancer, two partners, three dance partners over the years. And for instance, if you don't get a separate room, which was a luxury no one ever even dreamt of, you get a double room.
Yeah,
Imagine, you
yeah,
don't like your sometimes you don't like your dance partner. Actually, our
yeah.
relationship was falling apart. You have period, and you have to sleep in one bed with that person.
Story of
Okay,
my life.
that
Searching for
that
a right.
happens. And then
Yeah.
today, 20 years later, male organizers come to me,
Mm.
and they want to create a certain promoters team, promoters bond,
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
guys. And they're trying to impose on me that I don't give artists single rooms, because
Single.
then they have to,
Yeah.
that I
Yeah.
should give them double rooms. And I know what it feels like. So as long as I can afford it, I will. give those single rooms to the artists that demand it, because I know how a woman can feel. Maybe, the guy, it's I'm hitting the guy's needs as well, because he doesn't want to be in the room with his ex.
Yeah,
Sometimes a lot
yeah,
of these couples were together, they're not together.
yeah, yeah.
um
And also,
and that
I
is,
think
for instance, and
if
I am.
even you have a budget like that, then put women together instead
Yeah,
of
that's another way
assuming it has to
to
be together with a partner.
yeah, that's another way to play around it. But these
Yeah,
are all men who come to me and tell me that I'm spoiling, their
uh,
negotiations, because someone else
no,
actually gives them those rooms. So I don't even know from which side to comment on this. That they even
yeah,
have the decency to come to me and
yeah,
ask me, and they think that I will say, okay, I'll
yeah,
do it for you.
yeah, yeah. No, and thank you for that, on the behalf of every artist. I think that you do that, because I think, I mean, as well as a dancer and also as an organizer, like there is a lot of, just being a dancer and being like, yeah, but you get the exposure, but you get this, but you get that, and it's like you're just this, like a lot of the times having to convince someone to book you
Yeah.
instead of like actually being valued for your work and stuff like that. And then being a woman on top of that is also more complicated, because we're automatically in a more vulnerable position. Like you said, you can be uncomfortable, like you don't want to be, naked or on your
Mm.
period, or you can feel unsafe for a numerous of reasons,
Mm.
but
Mm.
as well, like you said, also men, like it's not always that you want to share a room with, like
Mm.
it shouldn't be assumed that it has to be like that. um
Mm.
and I always appreciate, like I always have that in my condition anyway, like how things needs to be handled. But even so, if there is a, budget cut that like we really cannot survive unless,
Mm.
then it should
Mhm.
be still alternative options, and not that it has to be that way or so. um
Mm.
yes, I really appreciate like any organizer that is like having holding space in their mind for the instructor itself, instead of just thinking of a budget,
Mm. Yeah,
that's
we do
really,
this. We provide very good food, very good cuisine, because
yeah,
I've been dieting on and off for the last 13 years, since I had my first baby. And it's important for me to eat vegetables, to eat some proteins, to eat some carbs. I cannot eat a pizza. I cannot eat a pasta,
yeah,
uh, you know,
yeah,
or burgers all the time. So we always have that. There's always a variety. There's always a choice. There's always a
yeah,
soup. It
that's
costs a
amazing.
lot of money, but
Yeah,
it's
it does, but
uh,
and the thing is, and I think this should also maybe be like really acknowledged more, is that organizers as yourself, like it really does make a difference for each and every instructor. Like it will make every instructor and student want to come back and relive that experience. That it is in those little things that really
mm,
truly makes a difference from one festival to the other, because everyone can find a big room and the big speakers and hire
yeah.
the big names, but it's in the little things of feeling taken care of as a human, whether you are a
Mm,
student or an artist. It's in those little things of actually feeling like acknowledged as a living being, that truly makes the difference of like, this is the festival I want to come back and work at, or I want to participate
mm,
in any kind of way. And also, that's how you truly, I think, at least in my experience, like that's also how I hear people talk. That's how you also
mhm,
create good reputation about your festival, in this case, that
mhm,
you actually take care of your people there, and then people are like, oh, you have to go there, it's so amazing, and they have good food, and it's this, it's that, da, 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 on top of the already good dancing and workshops and et
mm.
cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And that is
Yeah,
kind of
yeah.
what makes the big
It's
difference these days, because there is a gazillion festivals these days. So it's
mm.
never about how or when you can find a festival, it's what it will give you, you know?
It's funny, because for me the biggest challenge is, I struggle as an organizer when I do something new, because like when I did Kiza Fair a year ago, I
Yeah.
was, I always use the quality that I'm used to, but people were like, but there are so many events, and we don't know how it's gonna be. It was really hard to sell. I mean, I made it a success. I lost a lot of money. Let's say I invested,
Yeah.
But then the next year, we already broke even, because there was already so much hype about how nice it was,
How nice it was. Yeah.
that now it can multiply. And I
Exactly.
think it's sometimes when I start a new project, it's hard for me to get visible from the sea of the projects. There are so many events, and they happen at the same weekends all over Europe, not even to mention the
It's
world.
insane. Yeah.
um yeah, yeah,
And this
but
is also a
then later.
bigger issue, and I also feel like this is a bigger issue with the Kizomba community. There is a lot of events, and I can't really speak for
Yeah.
Salsa and Bachata, but in Kizomba, it's a madness, because it's like everyone is fighting for the same dates, and it's just something. It's like three, four, five festivals sometimes going on in the exact same weekend. It's sometimes just very
Yeah, and like
crazy.
each one of them has, there are some bigger ones, but then there are events for like 150 people,
Yeah.
and they're spread out. Dway is saying, "Fact, Kizafer was fire." Yeah, thank you, Dway. He's back with us next year.
Nice.
Yeah. Um, so yeah, for me, because Eddie's commenting. Okay, let me read that. It's not that I'm coming back, but elSol was by far one of my favorite congress in 2022 for its atmosphere. Thank you, Eddie. Well, I don't
Yes.
want this to be like a full, oh, elSol. elSol is great. Thank you guys for. I don't want this to become a boring conversation for our
No,
listeners.
no, no. It's all good. It's all good. I think
But
it's
it's
important to highlight still because,
like,
yeah,
mhm.
again, I think
All
it's
this is
very
in my
important for people
DNA.
to know also.
I cannot do a budget event, for instance. When I try, it always
Mm.
becomes expensive in terms of costs, because the sound, the lights, the food,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's hard for me to do something that is really of low budget. um, but I also, when I came off the stage, I focused on my business, and I saw as a way for me to maintain myself in the dance community and to dance. I work out, I practice, I want to be a better dancer, and somehow this passion transmits itself through the event. I don't do the event
Yeah.
because I like to be an organizer. I'm a
Yeah.
dancer,
Yeah. Yeah.
and
100%.
I
And that's
create
how you
this space.
become a great organizer, I think, because you can relate. And going back to what we were talking about also with personal life, love life, etc., I think the more you relate, the more you empathize, the more you understand, the more you can have
Yes.
compassion with why why and how anyone else would experience that, and someone you care for, or someone you want to attract that to, whether it's a
Mm-hmm.
student in your case, or in my case, like my boyfriend. So I think it's
Mm-hmm.
it's it's truly like how we relate to each other is also the magic of like creating that, and creating then a beautiful environment for anything to like flourish. I
Mm-hmm.
think and I truly think that makes you a great organizer as well, and not just a great organizer, but why El Sol now in March, I am already super convinced that will be a great experience for anyone to participate in, because you really think of those details, and also handpick who you want there, what type of people and teachers and stuff as
Yes,
well.
actually, with the lineup, I'm very picky. As organizers, we get these emails every day. I want to be at your events. There are always
Yeah,
people
yeah,
wanting, but I try to make it versatile enough. Like, for instance, for salsa, I try to pick people who are going to be dynamic, people who are going to be connected, people who are going to be a bit more accessible for the lower levels. I
yeah.
want to make it like a complete experience. Um, so so it is for me also a way of creating a space
100%.
to share knowledge, to inspire, to give people a complete growth,
Yeah, yeah,
when I pick the instructors. So
yeah.
let me
That's
read a
true.
comment here from Charmaine Brome. Ladies, many thanks for this live chat. It's an eye opener, but it's like hearing myself and what I'm all up against, my struggle while dancing on the dance floor. And it's a guy. Thank you for relating and sharing.
Oh, of
Um,
course,
Eddie
super
is saying about so the people that were there was what made the difference. Energy is extremely underrated. Yeah, energy. Mm.
100%, 100%.
The The same guy is saying, like Teresa, I absolutely believe that as a dancer, you're never done learning and think of repetition, beginners, improvers, etc. Lessons actually contribute to your dancing. Mm.
Yeah. Yeah, again, it's dance is universal, so anything that is anything with movement, it's like math. There's math everywhere around us, and I think movement is the same. We have movement in how we speak, how we move, how we walk, how we talk, how we everything. There's a movement in, and I think
Okay.
it's just
Mhm.
translated into that as well with our dances. So yeah.
I take now classes in dance hall and in Afro,
That's
like regular.
amazing. I
Yeah,
love that. I love that. I am
because
currently myself, I'm also really challenging myself to do different styles as well. So I'm doing high heels. And that's
mm-hmm,
also where I feel my challenge in myself to like let go and surrender to being in my feminine energy and dance in myself and be on the floor and like,
mm-hmm,
so and I also
right.
feel that like that moment of like exhale in like doing that, for example. And I want
Mm,
to try more solo dances and being more in tune and comfortable with my own body than I already am.
mm,
And as well, like you probably relate to, like being a beginner in a new dance, like when you already identify as a dancer, that's like if you can swallow that pill, you can swallow like a
yeah. Oh
pill.
my God. When I got into kizomba, and guys would dance with me one song on three songs, and
Yeah,
I wanted to be better, but I don't know. I didn't know how to get better. I took classes, but sometimes, every class, like with JP and so on, it made me
yeah,
better.
yeah.
Uh, but yeah, it was very humbling, that in salsa, everyone wants to dance with me. And here I was the last one on the floor. Or they
Yeah.
would ask me to dance because I looked good, but then, I didn't
Yeah, and
dance.
then what? Yeah, exactly, exactly. And it's a tough pill to swallow, but I think even more with yourself, like not only what other people think about you, but
Yeah,
just like with yourself to be like,
of
"Oh my
course,
God, my
of
body
course.
doesn't know this. Like I don't know how to
Yeah.
approach this." Like, ah. But
It's
it's
very
so
humbling.
liberating. Yeah, but it also
Yeah.
it's like very humbling. And for me, at
Yeah.
least in my experience, it also comes to that moment where it's like almost liberating, where it's like, okay, I'm just gonna be like, I'm gonna allow myself to be bad. Like I'm gonna
Yeah.
give
I
myself the
I
permission
think
to be
if
bad.
you can let go, that probably with your perfectionism, it probably helps you when you can actually let go in that space. Uh,
100%. For me,
let
that
me
has
read
been a big thing
here
because
one
I'm not used
comment.
to being
Okay.
on that level.
Yeah, finish your thought. Finish your thought before I go,
No, no,
because
no, that was it. That was it.
okay. The best organizers usually are guys. I'm not sure you want to be writing this here, who already have
I
their
don't see this
school, their
comment, but
community,
I don't agree
and
at all.
also have some experience like artists at festivals. I don't know. I'm a woman. Our team is doing great.
Yes, for sure. And I don't think this is gender based on if you're a good organizer or not. Again, it's how you can relate to artists and participants in their experience. And I just think it's awesome that you, in this case, are a woman and that you are still like breaking through barriers that and being an inspiration to other women that might want to organize one day and like find the courage to do so, because I think a lot of women feel like this commenter, like, yeah, it's only men that organize, but it's not.
Well, actually, the present dancer face connect. What's your name, man? Because it's a long nickname on Instagram. He meant guys. I like also girls, men and
Uh,
women.
okay.
Okay, this is actually interesting because Cara Flores made me aware. When we say hello, guys, I actually stopped using this. I really make an effort to say hello, everyone,
Yeah,
or people, because it always assumes it can be understood differently, right? Because it goes for
yeah,
men or for both. So especially when you're addressing women, be careful with that world, because then we feel excluded.
that's
Guys
very
are guys
true. Yeah,
with
guys are
penis. Yeah.
guys. Yeah,
So,
guys and gals. Yeah,
um,
100%.
but thank you for explaining. I
Yeah.
wanted to add something. Oh, especially, the male or female organizers in salsa. I really don't know any big scale female organizers, but in Kizomba, there are women in
Yeah,
this business.
that
Actually,
is true.
you have, like, you don't have enough guys on the dance floor. You have lines of women, you have taxi dancers, guest dancers, then you have great organizers,
Yeah,
women.
yeah, yeah. I think it's also the volume again. Like if we go back to that, like you have a whole different volume of events in Kizomba as well. But
Mm,
indeed, I think absolutely you see a lot of women like taking charge and organizing in Kizomba as well, and that I find it's kind of like the new generation. I feel like, and maybe it's
mm,
also that I don't know. You can speak more on that than me, but like with salsa for example, like you have these old foxes, like we say, like we have the OGs that have
mm,
been around forever, you know. Um, and you have congresses as well that has been going on for 10 plus years now, you know,
mm.
and Kizomba doesn't have that yet. Um, so it's still like the new generation kind of building up, and obviously there's been changes in how we view all of these things in these years as
Mm.
well. Like it's not the same world that we're living in now, thank god, than 10 years ago.
Mm.
So I think
Yeah, yeah. Actually, with this, for instance, the way I see now Kids Affair, first year 350 people, next second year 450 people, third year I think we're going for 600 next year. 600 is already
amazing.
pretty big. It's not that hard, when you're just
Yeah,
consequent with quality and consequent dates.
yeah. And in your
It's
case, I mean, you've also had many, many years of like your experience and reputation already as elSol, you know. So I
But
think
that
that
didn't
itself.
help me when I was organizing Kids Affair for the
Oh
first time.
wow.
No, it didn't
Okay.
help me because I heard, oh yeah, but El Sol is salsa. This is kizomba. You don't understand kizomba.
Yeah.
Kizomba is different. Can you really provide for kizomba? Like
Yeah.
a lot of the people that promote a lot of events, they don't want to promote my event.
Oh,
Um, and
interesting.
it's okay. I rely on other promoters, but it's actually it's not that welcoming.
Yeah, yeah, interesting.
It's
Yeah,
very
I
feminine.
can kind of see why. I mean, obviously because you hadn't been in Kizomba before, and then poof, you wanted to do that, of course. But at the
Yeah.
same time, like I just also mean like the experience that you carry in yourself, that you also know
Hmm.
what to look out for, how to do, and da,
Yeah.
and that shows in the first edition and second edition that people also like. Oh, actually, she does know what she's doing,
Yeah.
you
And
know.
Kizomba events are very simple logistically,
Yeah,
honestly. And
yeah,
this is why everyone does it, because if you have reliable DJs, they just have to show up to their sets, instructors to their classes. You're using one room or two rooms.
yeah,
It's not crazy running around. You don't have shows, rehearsals, sound
right.
checks, none of that. It kind of runs by itself.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
as
yeah,
long as you provide the balance. Eddie is saying that in USA, New Orleans, and Texas, there are great female organizers. Yeah,
yeah,
I would love to meet them.
yeah. And I feel like also the US in general is very like how do you say that, like very in like in the front line of creating
Okay.
opportunities as well, especially for Kizomba. The community isn't that huge there, but I feel in terms of like initiative, I feel that US are really like in the front line, where it's also much more respected on like uh I am the same as you regardless of gender or experience or different like journeys to come
Okay.
here than it is in Europe, because Europe we have, yeah, it's just a lot of toxicity going on here, but that again this could take a whole new hour to explain and
Hmm.
go into. But yeah, I think that's amazing in general, just to see this change come, and that it's happening like consistently as well, like worldwide, to see
Hmm.
more equality, more initiative, um, and better quality coming to the scene as dancers, as a community. And the only thing, like I said, that I hope for the kizomba community is that there's less turnover and more stability, that people feel like they can rely on their teachers to stay around, to be inspirations, and that not everyone is a teacher, but there will also be more demands on what it means to be a teacher and provide correct information, and that there will be better structure. That's what I want for the community.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
I
sounds
am
great.
positive. I'm positive for the future.
Well, Teresa, do you want to tell us a bit about your classes and at elSol? I picked the slides. I love the slides. How you taught me, that was really
Yeah.
valuable. We actually, I took a private class with Teresa in
Yes.
Amsterdam.
Yes.
Uh,
Yes, I have the slides and the follow like a princess, right?
yes, and you have another one, I think.
Oh yes, another one, Tarasho, maybe. Is it?
Maybe, yeah.
Don't remember now. But yes, yeah, what to tell about it? Like I created the foot slide workshop a while back, because it's a lot of technique in the groundness that we also went over, like how to actually use your the floor as your main dance partner, to also connect through the floor to your dance partner,
Mm-hmm.
and that you can find a lot of styling and more control in your elegancy, and as well like hip movements, all of that. You find that a lot through the floor, and not like in
Mm-hmm.
what people think, like you approach your body first and then the floor, but it's really the opposite, like you connect from the floor and into your body. So that also has to do with body movement and slides and everything. So that class really includes that, to learn how and when to use that. And the follow like a princess, I that is my workshop to also learn how to be light, again with groundness included, but like how to be light in your body, how to travel smoothly in your dancing, as well as yeah, like how you can create your own feminine energy. I say follow like a princess because like that you can feel this, like be in your moment of being your own princess, like you want
Mm-hmm.
to be the follow that the lead needs, not the follow that needs the lead, you know, that you want to be in your full essence of that. That is how I would sum up that one. Like you will really learn how to carry yourself like in elegancy and styling as well, of yeah, being in your feminine energy but still being carrying yourself, I would say.
Mm-hmm. That
um
sounds pretty exciting. Yeah, can't wait.
yeah, and I believe I have the tarasho. Have to double
Mm-hmm.
check it, but in my tarasho workshop, I yeah, explain like the isolations of your body, how to find it, how to practice it, like the actual physicality of it, like what muscles we need to find and train, like in a physical sense, and then also in the technical sense of how to find that, and yeah, different exercises and styles as well, like kind of going both in tarashinya and tarasho. So like in the more rolling of hips, let's simplify it like that, and also in isolating your hips and choosing the timing and position and that without it interfering with your upper body, and not compromising the connection with your partner. So yeah, that in grote lijnen, like they say in Dutch, in big lines.
Amazing. I love how you speak, so elaborately on this. It really shows competence and knowledge. How come your English is so good? Is it the Swedish education or
Oh,
were you?
I don't know. Everyone keeps saying this. I don't know. I mean, obviously, everyone in Sweden does have a good level of English, I'd say. But with myself, I've always been bilingual since I was little. I've always loved languages, still love that.
Hmm.
So I was always trying to speak English from even from when I was very little.
Okay.
Obviously, also Spanish and Swedish. So yeah, and with all the years of traveling and teaching and stuff like that, I feel like it's just second nature to me, that English now just feels, I prefer to teach in English than like in Swedish or so. Like it doesn't feel more
Mhm.
natural for me to do so. So yeah, it just and now also now living in Holland for the past 2 years now.
Mhm.
I obviously I speak English as my main language here. So yeah, now I even have
Okay.
difficulty remembering Swedish sometimes. I'm like, wait, what is that?
Do you speak Dutch?
I do not. I try to learn. I mean, I understand some. I would never like dare to say like, yeah, I understand everything because then people like just talk and I'm like, oh no, I don't know. But I do understand quite a bit.
Mhm.
I get some from Swedish as well because it is also like a Germanic language. So
Mhm.
some words are similar. Um, and also it has similarities to English. So sometimes I can like tap into both of them to try and understand what the
Okay.
conversation is about. But
Dway is saying that she does.
sorry.
Dway is saying she does speak
Yeah.
or understand, and then
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I
he's
can I can cheat on
Mhm.
some basic conversations. Then I can cheat my way there, but
Mhm.
I'm not there to speak fluently. No, I'm not.
Mhm.
He's being too
Okay.
kind.
Okay, Teresa, we've been talking for an hour
Yes,
and a
time
half.
is flying.
Oh my
Yes.
God, amazing, amazing. I just would like to love to ask you a final question that I think is going to be interesting. What traits of personality have helped you getting to this point in life?
Wow, that's a really good question. Um, Curiosity, I think, would be
Hmm.
a big word because staying curious has led me to, as a person, has led me to both in life and with dancing, kept me educating myself, learning more, um, like experiencing other people through their experience, through their learning journey. Yeah, being curious is like something I really take pride in that I still have.
Hmm.
Um, and I hope I never lose it because I can't imagine losing it. I think that has brought me where I am now more than anything. Curious to discover the world, to be a better teacher, be a better dancer, learning different dances, in any category I can think of, like that being curious is main for me, for sure.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
what I'm gonna quote when I describe this interview.
Yeah, 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 absolutely, absolutely. And I think also just like the YOLO in me. Like I'm just such a YOLO person. Like where it's
what
like
does what does that mean?
YOLO means you only live once. So
Ah, okay. Thank
yeah,
you.
that it's the you only live once mentality for me as well, where I'm like the worst thing that can happen is that it doesn't work, and
Hmm.
then what? Then I'd rather have a what like a oh well than a what if, you know?
Hmm.
That
Hmm.
that was
Oh yeah, I can relate to that too.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we can always go back to things that we if we don't feel like going there, but if I don't make the step forward, I'll never go there. So
Mm.
that basically.
Mm. It was
Yeah.
beautiful to talk to you. I feel very inspired. Thank you for
Oh,
giving us
same, likewise. Yes,
so
this was
much of your
really, really
time.
nice.
And yes, I can't wait to have you as part of the team.
Yay!
I definitely feel you're my type of person. So
Yes, yes. It will be super nice to see you once again and now in your country. So
yeah,
yeah, very excited to be part of El Sol. And like again, for me it's a great deal to be part of El Sol after all since that was my first ever experience dancing. So this
yes.
one is means a great deal to me and of all the festivals. And I really am so excited to have all of you there to dance with and teach and share the vibes with.
Make sure, guys, you join Teresa's class. Even if you dance other styles, go check it out because it's a lot of body
Everyone is
control, a
welcome.
lot of really interesting stuff. So
Yes.
see you
And
in
should be
March.
mentioned, it's an open level on these classes as well. So anyone from any dance style can join and take something from the class.
Thank you so much, Teresa. Have a great day. Have a great day, guys.
You
Write us if you
too.
need anything. And Next week, I'll be connecting with you with Simona and Daniela Bachata couple from Italy. So
Ooh,
some bachata. Thank
exciting.
you. Bye bye.
Okay, thank you so much. Have an amazing day.
Disconnecting on Facebook. Invite to join. Okay, I'm